stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
All right, I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Gorman, second by Novinsky. Any updates, corrections, changes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on September 17th.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
A motion by Kelly Zebro,
I'll second.
second by Diane Gorman. Any corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say no. All in favor say yes. Say aye. Say no, yes. Approval of the minutes from the annual board meeting, September 24th, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Donna,
I'll second it.
second by Kelly Zebro. Any corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Special presentation, item 6A, discussion, middle school presentations.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with introducing Mr. Britsky and Mrs. Hillersheim. Our fifth grade math team had taken a risk last year. They came to me with the idea of looking at how they can take their students in their block. So picture your 2 periods in a block. And taking those students, looking at the specific skills that those kids are either advanced in or at level in or struggling in, and taking them, splitting them amongst the staff during that time of the day, and teaching that skill at that level. They've seen some success, and the success they've seen is worthy of spotlighting it in our district, as that's where we're continuing to push that envelope in our team lead meetings to look at how we can also do this in other areas, 6-8 math, and then grade 4 and 5 continuing it, and then also in ELA. So I'll turn it over to these folks.
Good evening. So we looked at our school improvement plan, and it was one of those, how can we get the kids to improve? Not just a handful of them, but to get them all to improve. So we utilized different strategies. Tier 2 intervention strategies to teach students accountability in their academics. And then we highlighted the bottom one as well. Just we use different strategies and data points to pick those kids on which room that they will be in.
So we start the year by collecting as much data as possible. One of the sources that we use for our data is our district screener, which is the FastBridge, the AMath component. We get that fall, winter, and spring scores. So in the fall, we collect all that data, but we also look at the past 2 years of scores to kind of see if this fall was an outlier at all, or are they pretty consistently performing at a certain level. We also this year have iExcel, which is another program we're using, and that also has a diagnostic component. So we collect data from that as well, and then we used Study Island, which was the 4th grade post-test, to see what skills from 4th grade did they retain, what are they coming in with. So we actually have 3 different sources that we collect data, and then we meet, we convene, we look at how consistent things are, where are some gaps that we need to focus, or where do we need to extend to.
So Mr. Akers and I we each teach 3 different sections of math at the same exact time. So we took those 2 classes and piled those kids in one and looked at who's high in math, who's low in math. And we found that there was a couple classes that there was students at a 2nd and 3rd grade level, and then we have a few students that are at a 7th and almost an 8th grade level in 5th grade. And we said having them in the same room isn't the best for both of those parties. So we don't like saying leveling the kids, and we don't like calling it high-low math. So we sell it, I guess you could say, as it's a faster pace in Mr. Akers, and it's a slower pace in my class. So where I would spend, I think today's day 4 on long multiplication doing a standard algorithm, and we're still struggling. Where Mr. Akers spent 1 day on it, or 2 days on it, I'm going to probably work on it again for the rest of this week, and he's going to move on to the next lesson. So we're teaching the same concepts in 5th grade. the one negative to the whole thing becomes the class sizes. His last period has 30 kids, but those are those kids that have those same expectations, but they have a harder work ethic. They're turning all their stuff in. Their motivation is up there. Where I only have 12 kids, but those are the 12 neediest of those 42 kids, to where I can sit down and then work on them individually. I also use IXL, where they work on their recommendations. So when they went through that test, it found where they struggled in first, second, third, and fourth grade. And then they're able to click on that and work on, for example, a first grade skill, in which then I give them time every day. We also spend every day working on math facts in that group, where those kids don't know their math facts.
And I would also say, so when we're having these conversations, we're looking at the scores. We don't start this until, was this second
We just
week?
start, this is the second week.
Second week.
Yeah.
And that gives us time to get to know the students. It gives us some information as far as motivation, homework completion, supports they have at home, if they're actually going to be up for that challenge of working at a faster pace. Because just because they're scoring at a certain level doesn't always mean that that's going to be the best fit for them. So we don't just go off of the scores, we also take some time to get to know them, see what they're doing in class, participation, all those things. We also really felt the need to have a bridge or a transition, because fourth grade, they stay with their fourth grade teacher all day. But then sixth grade is when we start that advanced math track. And so we kind of felt like there was a missing piece in fifth grade to kind of get them in that transition and get them used to switching teachers, having different pacing, work out some of the social aspects of having different groupings as well. So we kind of felt like we were missing that piece. So that was another reason that we started to look at this. So this is our second year. So we don't have a ton of data, but that is one of our main focuses for this year, is to collect as much information as we can to see what impacts it is having, and where we need to focus more of our attention. So some of the information we're hoping to continue to collect is looking at 1 year's time. So we looked at their fall fast bridge from fourth grade to fifth grade and then to sixth grade this year. And we looked at the growth that they were making. So as far as like a regular paced fifth grade class, as a whole, they went up 299 percentage points. On average, that's about increasing 5.2 per student that was in that regular pace class. The faster pace, they went up an average about 10 points per student. So that's kind of telling us we need to focus more too on that regular pace and targeting. That's going to be one of our goals this year. But we also wanted to see as a whole, are we seeing students move from below the 20th to the 20th to 49th? Are we seeing that growth and that shifting throughout the year?
Just a question,
Yep.
did you have, coming into this year, a average you want to see per student in each?
So because we didn't know what our other grade levels were doing. So that was kind of our starting point,
Okay.
as we looked at third, fourth, all the way through eighth,
Okay.
and kind of got an idea for what was the typical growth.
Okay.
And so that's going to be one of our goals too, is to collect more of the information from all of the grade levels. Because even like our 6th through 8th grade have that advanced track.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of information are we seeing? What data are we seeing from those two paths as well?
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving forward for this year, now we leveled them, I guess you can say, but now I look at the kids that I have, and there's such a gap between the higher kid in my class and the lower kid in my class. So now I'm looking at how I can break my class up into subdivisions and focus on these 5 kids that really can't subtract, where I can really focus on them to work on subtraction, and then again picking off of the data and the gaps from the IXL and all of the testing, how we can lift them up on those. But we're also trying to, I don't know if Brad, you want to step in for this one with our reading. We're trying, if math is as successful as it was last year and hopefully again this year, how can we push it as a 5th grade team, even other grade levels, in the reading department as well, where again, my kid started kindergarten this year, and if she's struggling in 5th grade reading, I really want her to have that path to where she can go and get in the regular paced reading with her peers instead of always having the same faster paced, higher kid in the classroom.
As far as our reading blocks go, I'm gonna back up just a little bit with our 5th grade math team. Like, the work that they put in, the risks that they took, the barriers that they seen, let's go back and relook at this. Like, this process was one that wasn't comfortable because it was a change in the way that they taught within the block, okay? And that was something that was encouraging to see, because if you think about it, the basis is you're teaching the math skill to the kid at the level who needs it at that level. It's that simple. And the future now, the question that comes is, how do you do the same thing in the world of ELA? I just talked with Kathy about going to our neighbors down the road. I talked with Amy Schmidt this morning, the principal over there, and they've been doing this for 10 years. When I left Stratford, when I left the elementary building and went to be the athletic director, we were just starting this when I was over there. And if you look at any of the state report cards in Stratford, the elementary's up in the upper 80s, low 90s consistently. So they've done this, where they've not only embedded this skill-based learning, but they've done it over a course of time, and they've seen, with the similar demographic that we have here, good results. So I congratulate this team. It was a lot of hard work in moving in that direction. The future looks like, how do we embed this into the block, and how do we start having conversations with people who have done it to change that in 4th and 5th grade. And then the next step is we look at 6, 7, and 8. We have advanced reading, or we have advanced math at level math in 6, 7, and 8. How do we do that with ELA to continue to push the 2 questions that you guys know I'm a stickler on, and my staff knows this? How do you know that they know it? What are you doing if they don't? What are you doing if they do? So, questions?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Student board report.
Yeah, the individual is, Tom, if I'm correct, he's in Greece, he's in the musical? Yes.
Yeah, it still has a CNA course this month.
Oh, I'm sorry, CNA, never mind, thank you. But he submitted his report, so obviously, as you can see, if you look through the report, there's been a lot going on in the buildings with NHS has done some fundraising to assist with Carmen Milky and Ireland's family. FCCLA has done some work through Peyton's Promise. They've got some stuff. They're gearing up for their competition season, FFA, state convention, nationals coming up, and then Student Senate did a great job in raising money for Peyton's Promise during halftime as well. Music department is going strong. I just mentioned Grease is coming up. That's the musical right now, so that's in mid-November. Yep, and then a band is going, and one of the things that we found out probably 3-4 weeks ago is that our band was selected to perform at the Wisconsin Musical Convention coming up. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's their
WCVA state convention.
Yeah, it's their state convention coming up. They were one of only a handful of bands that were selected to do it, and the smallest one. So it's quite an accomplishment for the band, and so we're looking forward to supporting that as well. So that was a nutshell of what Dustin was going to cover. Probably more eloquently than I did.
Any questions? Public forum. Nothing for public forum. Thank you. Item 9 is the consent agendas. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Gorman, second by Maple. Any items to be pulled out by any committees?
I had a question. In the finance, there's Franklin Covey client sales. What is that?
Was that leader and me?
Leader in.
Well, the leader in me, okay, because I know who Franklin Covey is, but I couldn't, when I was looking through it, I
So
couldn't figure out.
that's all I would know.
So
But someone else
that
might be able to
answers
speak
my
on it.
question.
So that would, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's for the voucher list, right?
Right.
Okay, which
Oh,
is
sorry,
item 10.
mine's wrong.
It's okay, no, no.
Okay,
We
okay.
already approved it at our committee level,
Okay.
but I just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
so. We have a motion and a second, anything else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have a discussion and possible decision approval of the monthly voucher list.
You want a motion before we?
I think your
Your
request's already
question-
been answered.
Okay,
no,
I'll make the
okay.
motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by,
Okay.
motion by Peter, second by Kelly Zebro to approve the monthly voucher list. Any, other than the one question, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I need to abstain from,
Oh.
I sent it to you.
Delete.
153463.
Oh yeah, sorry, roll call. I apologize.
Thank you.
Gorman,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes.
Maple. Yes. Belangia Zebro,
Yes.
Kelly Zebro,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Novinsky,
Yes, with one extension.
All right, thank you. Item 11, discussion and possible decision, acceptance of the monthly treasurer's report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Hanson,
I'll second it.
second by Kaiser. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Hanson,
Yep. Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Belangia Zebro,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes.
Novinsky,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Kelly Zebro.
Yes.
Thank you. 9-0. Item number 12, new business. Item A, discussion and possible decision, final budget, levy, and tax rate for the 2024-2025 school year.
And I'll turn that over to Rod,
Okay.
talk about the final budget that we're presenting tonight.
All right, yeah, so the top part is the Fund 10 budget. That's where we're standing as of the meeting. So we've gotten it down a little bit. I did wanna bring out the open enrollment revenue and expense and the per pupil aid, since those are somewhat finalized on the open enrollment. You still have kids coming in and out all year long, but the per pupil would be finalized. That would be budget speaking, and then bottom half of the page would be the levy, the mill rate, tax rate, or the lat levy, the valuation used to determine that mill rate. And after that page, there's the budget, the second page, the revenue limit summarized on page 3, the revenue limit actual worksheets from DPI if you're really bored, the next 4 pages after that. The membership, yeah, keep going. Next page. Oh, one more. I'll just talk on this briefly. The top half is kind of like our head count. So these are the first column, kids we're teaching in our building. RVA is kids going distance learning through RVA. And then we've got pre-kindergartners at various sites and one challenge academy. So those are kind of like our head count. And then the bottom half of the page is getting us from the head count to the membership FTEs they use for the revenue limit. So head count, we add open enrollment out because those are residents, and we subtract the open enrollment ins because those are not residents. They want us to use residents for the revenue limit membership. The early childhood, you get half an FTE for them, 3-year-old special ed. Pre-K, you get 6/10 of an FTE. And so the far right column is what we use for the revenue limit worksheet, 1821. And if you want to take a quick and dirty look at next year, you'll be losing the 155 for seniors and probably bringing in like 120 or something between the pre-K going to kindergarten and the pre-K coming in. And the last page is just if you were curious what various townships had done valuation-wise. So, any questions?
Oh, see, Mosinee took a huge jump.
Yeah.
Some of that's also predicated on new construction too. It's not necessarily all just property, existing property values.
That's what
Did one of the TIFs come closed up too?
No.
No, not this time.
Couple years, there's 3 in Cronenwetter, I believe, and they're possibly closing early. They just had a TIF meeting recently. 2 of the 3 are, the one, they extended a little bit longer.
Would you mind going back to the head count, the bottom of it?
Okay. All right.
So, I heard what you said that, you know, we might have 120 or so coming in, right? Perhaps.
If
We
you
don't
look
know.
at the first
Yep.
grade and.
Yes, and that's where I actually wanted to talk for a minute. I'm not advocating this at all, but I think it's important that we at least think about certain items. It's possible, I suppose, that perhaps I'll say a class, let's say 16 kids, right? The parents maybe are choosing, if I think this is an option, to not send their kids to all-day kindergarten, but then they come full-time for first grade.
Possibly.
And we don't know, right? Because we're not surveying that.
Correct.
I'm not suggesting that we should add that, nor am I suggesting that it would even be a good idea, because then we have space issues, we have staffing, all of that. We also could run the risk of having a few more kids, or parents decide, you know what, I want my kid to go half day, but that's not an option, so I'm gonna send all day. So then we would lose, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily gain. But I'm wondering if we had that data, would we be able to add another 16 at 0.6 or 0.5 rather, because half day would be a half, right?
Right.
So, you know, 16, let's say 20 kids at 5,000, 5,500 apiece, right? So that's how my mind thinks about this. I'm not looking at it as a profit center or even as an additional revenue generator. What I'm wondering is there an unserved market out there for parents who might otherwise send their kids half day? And if I'm barking up the wrong tree, then we should just move on, but.
Are you asking to do a survey to?
I'm not, I think,
Okay.
I mean, perhaps the school district should think about whether that is even a possibility of a way to meet perhaps an
Well, at least you
untapped
have
market.
information.
Well, I think one of the things you would start out with is ask your open enrollment out pre-K kids that's sitting at 20. I think I understand what you're saying is, you know, would you come back if we changed it, or are you simply out as a 4K kid because I work in Schofield, I daycare in Schofield, it's easier for me just to do the wraparound care there and I don't have to worry about anything else. But when you go to full day kindergarten, I'm coming back. I think that's what, it would be interesting to have all those to maybe reach out to.
Well,
those
or
people.
not coming back because we are full day kindergarten.
Correct, and find out exactly the right reasons why they're not here.
So the problem with doing a survey could be that it could lead people to a conclusion that the district might be serious about making available a half-day option. I'm not saying that that's a good idea or a plan or that we should do it. It seems that maybe we should be talking about those types of things
Okay.
as a board.
Okay.
Done?
In a neighboring school district, the daycare was a problem.
Yep.
And they went to all-day 4K. Their numbers jumped way up. Because there literally was no daycare for half-day students. They had to hire another person, but, you know, their 4K is overflowed now.
Well, and one of the things you have to understand is the state for the handful of years, when I say the state, I mean DPI, I'm sorry, has been pushing along with other educational-based institutions to change, because even though if they're full day, every day 4K, they're still only counted as a 0.6.
Oh, they are.
The state has not allowed you to count a 4K kid as 1.0 FTE.
Yeah.
And that's a decision that the educational groups are trying to push through the legislature to get that counted as a 1.0 FTE if you go 4K every day. So what those school districts are doing is they're offering it, but they're still only getting the 0.6 that we're getting
We,
as well.
and Kevin, Jolene, we've done this. We surveyed just last year, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes, so we have done this.
The daycare is an issue.
Well, we know
I mean,
that.
it's
We
not
know
one
that.
that we probably can solve right away, but daycare
Certainly not
is a
now.
major.
Housing,
No, it's a
daycare.
major
But we've
issue.
talked about it at the
Yes,
school
that's what I
level.
mean, we had Jolene run that report, and we are on top of it to the point that, like,
Okay.
more or less what Greg said, this is what we can do.
I mean, I'm the data, so to me, it's data. It's like, oh, there's a missing element.
Yes.
I didn't
Right.
remember
Oops,
that,
yep,
so
yep.
thank you, and thank you for reminding me
Yeah.
and the board.
And another
Jessica?
piece of this, not that it's much, but we just had this, a bit of a brief conversation in curriculum, is that some seniors will do early graduation. Now, perhaps we only support that if they truly have a plan in place, not just to leave early. So that is another piece of this data equation.
Yeah, because I think where you're going with that, Jessica, is depending upon when the semester ends, they might miss the second Friday count in January, which those two, that could then impact the FTE count, because they do 2 counts a year, third Friday in September, second Friday in January.
And now granted, this is only about 5 or 6 kids the last couple of years, not a bunch, but it's still some.
Sure.
The
Okay.
January count only affects the state aid we receive, though. It doesn't affect our revenue limit.
But state aid still decreases taxes.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, did you have one more thing? No.
Well, you know, this is something probably we should be with the city talking about. How do we get affordable daycare to our community? Because it will attract people. We have a housing issue and we have a daycare issue.
Which don't help our numbers.
No, not at all.
And then, Paul, it becomes what comes first, the chicken or the
Yeah,
egg?
that's right.
The daycare first or the housing first?
But there are other reasons
Yeah.
we have declining enrollment than just what we're doing as a school
We're
district.
not the only one that has.
Yeah,
it.
well,
No,
that's right.
it's a population.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. Okay, thank you for the report.
So we'll need approval of that.
Well,
Yep.
in the last meeting, big kudos to Rod and Greg on their work. I'd like to say it again, and then I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
And levy and tax rate.
And how it was,
Prove everything as presented.
oh yeah, there you go.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Peter Hansen, second by Kelly Zebro to approve the final budget, the levy as presented, and the tax rate for the next school year, for the current school year, excuse me. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Kelly Zebro,
Yes.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Hermany,
Yes.
Corman,
Yes.
Novinsky,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Kalancha Zebro.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 12B, discussion and possible decision, selection of the Board of Canvassers.
Yeah, we have to canvass obviously for the referendum, so we're scheduled to canvass on the 7th at 9 a.m., which is Thursday the 7th. So just kind of more or less, how do you guys want it? Do you want Shane and I to pick the canvassers from whoever shows? Do you have specific names you want us to use? I mean, how do you want us
How
to
we've done-
handle it?
How we've done this in the past.
The secretary always found somebody to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
She had
Some,
a-
it
she
can
had
be
a-
from the board or.
She
it
had a
can be-
group of people that she would,
Yeah,
And,
that group didn't come, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
well, and I suggested, I talked to Shayna, and I suggested maybe that's an way to get some other people in the district involved in the school, where they can have some part of what's happening within the
something,
school district.
I think,
Yeah.
I wanna say Amy used poll workers. because they kind of have a bit of that knowledge and
Well,
so that pool of
and
people.
that's what I gave
Well,
her, a
I've
couple
done
of
it,
poll
and she's
workers
done
that,
it, so I don't know if he's looking for
sorry.
board members.
I'm gonna
to
make
step
it
up.
simple, why don't
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
make the
yeah.
decision?
Yeah.
Okay, so Shane and I will contact some poll workers from various parts of the district and have
Thank
them
you.
come in on that morning of the 7th at 9, and we'll maybe offer coffee and donuts or something to make it worth their while.
yeah,
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
I've given him her name. Item 12C, discussion and possible decision, extension of, oh, sorry.
Do we have to make a motion or anything on it?
I
or no?
thought that we had just, did you want to have a
Directed
vote on it, or just direct the
I think we just
superintendent?
directed the
I think you
superintendent to
can
do it.
direct,
Yeah, I don't think we need it.
Okay, just,
Sorry, that was the
I'm
discussion.
sorry for interrupting,
when we
but I
were-
just wanna make sure.
yeah,
Okay.
when we were convincing it.
Yeah,
So we're up for the annual, or the every 5-year review of the RVA contract. Being a part of the RVA allows us the opportunity to have our students in there. You have to be part of the program in order to have the students sit there or to get the better rate of having them in there. We've been a member of the RVA for quite a while. It's an annual contract fee, but as you can see, we have kids involved in RVA, and the one thing I'll tell you is if you eliminate that, they have a desire to go, they will go somewhere else. They will then just flat out open enroll to Medford to join the RVA. So you're gonna lose them anyway. You're gonna lose them.
Yeah.
So you're better off from a financial and an educational standpoint to become a member of the RVA and keep them on our count per se.
I'll make the
So I
motion.
would recommend we approve it.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
We have a
And I'll
motion by Novinsky,
And I'll second it.
second by Kaiser to approve the extension of the RVA charter agreement. Questions? All in
Well-
favor? Oh, sorry, Kelly.
well, we've been in this for how long?
Oh,
So there's
As
no
long as
way
I
we
remember.
wouldn't.
no, yeah, this isn't new.
So I'm just letting everybody know this is.
Started, I know we were going
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12D, discussion and possible decision, second reading of policy update. We could do these both together. Well, we should do them separate because they're different topics.
Yeah, these are just the two policies we had in response to the conversation we had last month. So the first one with officers talks about how we're going to vote when we reorg, because that's where that portion is in the policy. In policy, the second one on closed session just basically communicates out that if you're virtual, you cannot go into closed session, because we don't know who's in the room with you, is the rationale behind it, but that's what the language says. So these two policies were updated to reflect last month's conversation.
I'll make the motion to accept the first one, policy of officers.
Motion by Novinsky to approve item 12D,
I'll
number 1.
second it.
Second by Kelly Zebro. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion for the second one?
I'll make the motion to do the closed session policy.
Motion by Novinsky,
I'll second
second by Kelly Zebro, to approve policy 0167.2 for second reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12E, discussion and possible decision, early college credit program to start college now.
Yeah, this is the, by state statute, you're required to offer these opportunities to kids up to 18 credits. It was last I knew. They changed it, but I don't think they've changed that part of it recently. But this is just part of state statute, so this is just an annual opportunity for the board to approve where the kids are going and the classes they're taking. We have gone through and communicated with them if they're want to take a class that's closely or directly related to one we offer, you can deny it. But for the most part, the ones that are offering are ones we don't offer here. It's a great opportunity for kids. As you look at the dual credit enrollment, we have a $340,000. I mean, this is a great opportunity. And some of that doesn't even count these classes. Is some of that, what Tom will show you soon, doesn't necessarily include this.
So
This is
college
just-
now is not included.
Right, this is just
This is
the,
above and beyond.
yep. So, Tom, is here to answer any questions you have related to this, but, we are seeking approval of this and
I'll
recommending
make the
approval.
motion to approve as
I'll
presented.
second.
Motion by Peter Hansen, second by Diane Gorman, to approve. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Well, that list is extensive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is.
It is, we have unbelievable amounts of kids
Kids that,
get free college credit.
Yeah, we get to Tom's report, I wanna have him take just a couple of minutes and highlight a couple things
And
related.
I would add, like, one
on
thing
this?
for clarification, because I know in past there's been questions. When we do this approval process, this is the maximum number, right? So they submit this, but the schedule, like the college provided schedule is not out when they have to submit this. So there's a chance some kids don't actually get to take some of these classes just because the timing might not be right, the days might not be right, but they have to submit this ahead of time to get this approval based on those state deadlines. So this approval list doesn't always come to fruition. That's why you see alternatives for some kids that would substitute if the schedule didn't work, and sometimes they're not able to take, but that approval just means that's the max that could be taken.
Okay, thank you. Item 13 is the administrative reports.
Yeah.
You had just mentioned you wanted,
Yeah, I wanna just touch a couple things for me
Please.
personally, on my report. Obviously, number one, recently was the Board of Education week, so I wanna once again publicly thank you guys for all the work you do on behalf of the students and the staff in the district. I know it's not always the most glamorous position in the world, and you don't do it because you get rich doing it, but I do appreciate all that you do. Reminder, we have the board retreat on next Monday at Mosinee Brewing Company in the back room, and we are also possibly gonna have CASA bring just some snacks and things like that over to
That's
tide
at
us
6
over.
p.m., right?
6 p.m., correct, yep, and I have a meeting, scheduling with Bob Butler to confirm topics and stuff like that for that agenda, based on some of the stuff we talked about. And I just wanna say referendum-wise, obviously we're nearing towards the end. It's been a zoo, so thank you for everybody that's kind of put us in contact with different people. The website, Heather Bartnick is doing a phenomenal job, so I wanna make sure I give her a lot of credit. She's doing a great job updating it. She's doing all the program inserts for me. She designed the entire program, the pocket brochure. I mean, she's been very responsive. She's done a great job. But Kevin and I were on the Chad Holmes show last week. Channel 12 was down 2 weeks ago. Channel 7 or 9, I don't remember which one, was down last week during the open house. We've had the weekly letters in the Mosinee Time, a lot of stuff on social media
You did a nice
accounts.
job on the Chad Holmes.
Thank you,
I listened to it.
thank you. We've put the Chad Holmes and both news articles on our website as well as links for people if they want to catch back up and watch those. We've also, Donna put me in contact with the town of Bergen, so I went out there. I'm glad that 35 people weren't there just to see me. They were there because it was their budget meeting. I got a little worried when I walked in and the place was packed. I thought everybody was there to see me. Thankfully, it was the budget hearing, so I breathed a sigh of relief. It was great, but then, we were able to meet with the pool swimmers in the morning. The day after that, open house last week on Thursday was very well attended. I got to go over and meet with the bus company yesterday morning. Brought them donuts and then met with them, so it's been really good. But there's a lot going on, and we're in the home stretch, and looking forward to November 6th, when the results are finally in.
I wish everybody could have done the tour
Yeah.
at the open house.
Well,
As in the whole community.
if you have an opportunity,
Except in the locker room.
yeah, I mean,
They have to see the locker room.
Yeah, no, seeing is the one thing.
Oh, wasn't that? Hockey room is worse.
Megan did
Oh, that's right, Megan.
went live for the entire
Yeah.
open
I
house
did,
and the
yeah.
tour, so it is on her
It's
school
on my
board social
school board
media
Facebook.
page.
Have you
So-
been getting very many calls from people, or?
No, I haven't. I usually get maybe one email a week after stuff goes out. Maybe a couple emails with questions, but for the most part, no. But when I've gone out and met with the individual groups, everybody's been respectful, responsive. I see a lot of head shaking. They could just be what they always say, Midwestern nice to me, and say whatever when I walk out the door. Who knows? But no, a lot of people are responsive, and
This is Mosinee down there.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we don't have
Alright, so-
that Midwestern nights.
right. So overall, Don, I've been hearing,
Well, I
Good things.
haven't heard down on my end, the 2 townships I was at, you know, people just didn't know.
Yeah.
They just didn't know, and a
Well-
lot of people don't get the Mosinee Times.
Right, well, when I went out to the town of Bergen,
Yeah,
the mailer hadn't quite hit yet, because by the time the open house, people were walking into the meeting with the mailer. So it was right about that time where the mailer hadn't quite hit the mailboxes yet, but usually when I talk about the referendum, I usually refer them to the mailer. And I just, you know, I'll give you the 2-minute speech of what I go through. I go through a little bit about the why behind the strategic plan, which then led to the survey last spring, which led to the questions. I talk about what exactly we're doing or asking to do. We talk about the tax impact. I do a really quick, brief explanation of the referendum question, because if you read those, there's a lot of legal language in there that can be confusing. So I just say, like, if you agree with everything I've said so far, you click yes. If you disagree with things I'm saying, you click no. And that's usually as simple as I can make it. And then I always end it by just saying, people, I ask 2 things of you: get educated and go vote, and we'll respond according to what you do. Is usually what I tell them.
Any comments? Any other,
Again, thanks for the hard work.
yeah.
any other items that any of the administrative team wants to bring forward? Did you have something?
Yeah, I
Go
want
ahead.
Tom to spend a couple minutes, because it's great news we have, and we can finally say the great news publicly. So,
I guess before we get to that one, the one thing I'd like to highlight, because it didn't reach the threshold necessarily to put on the board agenda for approval, but we had 2 former students make a personal donation of $1,200 in kind worth of new tools to our Construction 3 class for our Habitat house. Because the impact that had on them was so great, that they wanted to make sure our students weren't standing around a ton waiting for tools to be available. And so they came back, presented those tools to our Construction 3 class, and just kind of talked about the impact that it made. But these are 2 19-year-olds entering their career, and they spent $1,200 on tools and donated them directly to. So
cool.
I just wanted to recognize
Very
John
cool.
Reedy and Zach Owens for that
Oh, wow.
donation. Because, and it's down further, but I just thought, and there's actually a picture, they even went up to Wausau last week for the dedication of the house that they built with the family. So they stayed in contact and went. It was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
But the report that Greg's referencing is, test scores have become public. The state report cards aren't out yet, but you can see test scores in our current senior class, last year's juniors. Not only beat the state average, had a higher score than the state average by almost 2 full points, but they had the highest scores in Marathon County, as well as the Great Northern Conference.
to what I understand too, Tom, isn't this the school record?
That's the highest score since it's been a required school test versus optional for whoever wanted to take it. The highest composite score.
So I mean, that's just tremendously great news, and we need to celebrate that, because that's what it's about. So, I'm sorry, Tom, you can go on.
No, and I was just gonna say, as you scroll down, I think there's other pieces that are worth celebrating as we collect data from the year before. It's not just test scores, but if you look at the dual credit numbers, you know, obviously, we're never gonna have the same number of students as DC Everest, but if you look at the credits earned, we have more credits earned in our building than any other school in the NTC consortium. That's more than the 2 Wausau's, more than DC Everest, more than Merrill. And then when you look at that tuition translated, again, our students are saving more money as a whole, and then obviously as a per capita per student number as well. And you know, that's a testament. Our teachers have to put in a lot of work to become dual credit certified. They spend days in the summer working with the NTC people. That Start College Now list would be a whole lot longer and more expensive for this district if those teachers didn't go through that training, offer those courses. And our students, the accessibility to those courses would be far less equitable for students to access that. So, you know, I thought that was a pretty impressive number. And then as you scroll down, you know, looking at providing kids opportunities, our youth apprenticeship numbers That's the two Wausau high schools combined.
Yes.
And what our students, you know, the opportunities that our students have. So I just think when we look at a well-rounded picture of preparing our kids for the future and what's next, our kids have access to a lot of opportunities, and it's pretty impressive.
Well, and without getting into report cards, because those aren't public and they aren't out yet, but when we talk about wanting to create our own district-specific report card, this is the stuff that the state report card does not reflect. But I think it's an important piece of who we are as a school district that we need to talk about. And so that's why we are looking at creating our own district level by building report card that, you know, touches on what we feel are key things that our district does. And we're not just gonna find all the good things and hide all the bad. That's not what this is about. We're gonna be open, honest, and transparent, but I think these are numbers that are important for our public to know about. And if you look just at the report card numbers, they're not gonna see this. But this is vitally important for our community to know
Need a billboard.
the great
by
job
the
we're
airport,
doing
on the highway.
on this kind of stuff.
No, and Greg, I think even like Tom, you too, is when you're looking to involve Mosinee district, you want them to realize, come to Mosinee, look what you get in your senior year, look what is paid for, look how much money you will save. You know, so it's a selling point.
Well, it's not only a selling point, Kelly, for students, but it's also a selling point for staff. Because Shane and I were down at the UW Stevens Point Job Fair last week, and when we were talking with high school teachers and middle school and elementary, we were talking about this information. Because I think it sells our district as a whole,
Right.
you know, and I think it's an important thing to talk about.
And they're picking and choosing the way they can. We are number one as far as that goes.
Yep.
So I noticed in the dual credit that the two Wausau schools are now together. Only 0.5%, only $1,500 together combined behind Mosinee.
Yep.
They were like 7 or 8% behind Mosinee a year ago, so I don't know what we need to do for the next year to stay ahead.
Yeah, you know, we're talking, we're constantly calling NTC, you know, for example, we teach body structure and function, and they won't count that as anatomy and physiology, and we have kids that for their programs, and so we're constantly calling, hey, we have a teacher qualified, let us teach it here. You know, we're the only ones that they'll allow chemistry because of our lab standards. And so, hey, if we have the lab standards for that, give us the lab standards for this, we've got it, and so we're always talking to them, how can we teach this course, you know, to our kids here, and so we're always bargaining, so we'll try to stay ahead.
It's only $1,500 now.
Yeah.
I added them together, it's like, oh my God. It's only 3 classes.
Yeah, well, we just might have to bring that like per capita. Right?
No, let's just stay ahead.
So I don't know if anybody else had anything to add. I apologize for jumping just
Brad
in time.
does.
Brad does.
Yeah, in my board report, I'd just like to thank the Jeannie Zebro family. They donated a bench for the student who had passed earlier in October.
Yes.
That bench right now is getting a sign that is going to be having the engraving on it. Mr. Bartnick is taking care of that for us, and then once we have that all put together, we're going to place that bench where that youngster got off the bus every day.
Sweet. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for highlighting that.
So thank you, Jeannie Zebro and her family for that.
Indeed.
And yours is done too.
Yeah, and Steve, thank you for my wife's bench out there. Yeah, it's awesome. Out by the choir room, so, thank you. Okay, anything else administrative? Thank you. Other reports, WSB report.
Okay, that's on to me.
It is.
Before you get ready, can I jump in and just say we had 3 of our board members
Yes.
get recognized
That report, you got.
for levels. We have the picture of 2 of them there. Jessica had to leave a little early, so I don't have a picture of her getting hers from Dan Rossmiller. I suppose I could have taken a picture of the night I presented it to you, Jessica, but I'm not nearly as photogenic as Dan is.
Wow, look at that.
But yes, I just wanted to recognize that real quick. And now, I'm sorry, Kelly, I'll turn it over to you.
No, that's all right. We just had that up at the Holiday Inn, which was very, very educational. It's a very nice session up there with,
Yeah.
with the people we meet and talk to, and you get to, You really do, they cover some good areas. What we have coming up now is the fall advocacy workshop. It's not real close by, but if anybody's interested in that, going to that, that's November. Well, there's different, places, so you'd have to look and see if any of those work for you. And then also, Greg, you do have, and I know Shayna would like to know, are we doing the head counts for?
Well, as soon as you can let us know, because
But,
then
Shayna
horse
and I
trading is gonna happen for
booked
hotels.
For down in Milwaukee for the state convention, which is, the dates are Tuesday, January 21st to Friday, January 25th. And then there's webinars in that in your book, and you get them sent to you daily.
Always
That's all I have.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. He said it's always cold that week,
Always
or
cold
snow,
that week.
a lot of
Oh my
snow.
God.
It's
And that
usually
wind just
negative
howls
and
down through those
it's
buildings.
bad.
Yes, it was. We had that slush and snow.
So it's like a
Yeah.
wonderful week.
We're not candidacy, okay.
Yeah.
So, we have item 14B, CISA 9.
Okay, CISA 9 didn't have a whole lot on their, what do you call it, September, minutes. Greg, I believe you were up there for a PAC meeting?
Yep.
You were up for that.
Yep.
They had the administrators. And then, the only thing that they reiterated was, of the consortium with the different schools in the different areas, and Stratford, I believe, is the closest to us.
For the learning?
Learning.
Yeah, we go November 1st to Merrill.
To Merrill.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's the one we're a part
Merrill.
of.
Sorry,
Yep.
wrong district.
No, that's fine. I think there is one in Stratford, but that's like Edgar Stratford,
Right.
some of those.
And
Marathon.
so you got to see Joe Underly and Tom McCarthy.
Jill Underly and Tom McCarthy were up there 2 months ago in September.
Yep.
What was up there last month, or last couple weeks ago, was, we had the legislators in.
Yeah.
So Tom Tiffany was in there.
Okay.
And then, I can't think of the other one. There was a gentleman that's, the assemblyman from Wausau was there.
Pat Snyder.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learning the names over here. And then there was another individual.
Listen to the radio and watch TV.
Senator
How are they
Cory
not
Price.
ingrained in
No
your
one
mind?
wasn't there.
That's all you see in there.
Ugh.
I think Tammy Baldwin had a rep there.
I haven't heard her name on the TV. Kidding.
Peter.
Sorry, these
Item
the ads get
15,
old.
future agenda items.
No, I'm just saying the ads get old.
The two agenda items that I have for next month are gonna be the two presentations. So we're scheduled to have student services presentation, so Brian is up next month.
Okay.
And then, I think we're gonna kinda on schedule, Rob and Jolene to do some Act 20 just for the full board. I know you do it every month with the instructional committees, but it might be good for the full board to get a little 1, 2, 3 elevator speech, on what's
Yeah.
going on.
Oh, and that's the spin you'll get from student services on the special
Okay.
ed side, how Act 20 impacts student services.
Okay.
Subbing, I've had a lot of people, teachers reach out to me about subbing, can we put it on the agenda?
Okay. Yeah, I did have somebody too.
Any other items? Okay. Item 16, movement into closed executive session. Need a motion to go into closed session, section 19.85 1C reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility